All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in this morning. It's a beautiful morning here in Los Angeles, and I hope it's a lovely day where you are. I'm getting a little bit of a back issue, a little bit of sciatica, so I may have to just jump up at any given notice just to stretch out my back. So be a little bit patient on that subject. I have a topic I want to talk about today that's very important. And in light of everything I see going on the internet, I'm not going to call out any names or anything, but once again, dog aggression and dog trainers who specialize in aggression are becoming a very popular topic on social media. This is a issue that happened many years ago when I started dog training, and I'll tell you what bothers me about it. I want to get into that in detail. Is, do I really care? No. Are there people who are good at handling aggression with dogs? Yes. Where it comes to a sticking point is when you have people showing techniques or assume techniques that don't work and that put people and dogs in danger. So I'm going to talk about the truth in dog aggression in a twofold context. And the first one is as it relates to the people, the dog trainers who are doing good work and those who are not doing good work. And then I want to talk about the behavioral aspect of it from the dog standpoint. So first of all, let's look at what people are doing. So there are two schools of this. There are the over-dominant side, the people who are just whacking dogs around, choking, hanging, doing these things. And then there's the flip side, which is the people who say the behavior is going to go away by coddling and treating and clicking and rewarding and ignoring. Both of those sides are not looking at the root issue, which is the first thing you have to look at. That the idea of a dangerous dog or an aggressive dog can be a menace to society. It's not fair to assume that just because a trainer can get a dog to change their behavior, that the actual behavior of the dog is changed. I've said this before, I'll say it again, I'll say it hundreds and hundreds of times before I die. Dog aggression is not something that's cured or fixed. It's merely something that is managed. True dog aggression is not something that is fixed or cured. It is something that we manage. Now, if a dog is acting out and acting reactively and barking and lunging and stuff like that, that's possibly not dog aggression. It could just be a reactive dog. It could be a very playfully behavior. It can be sometimes dogs growl and snarl and bare their teeth in a playful way. This is why it's important that people who address dog aggression make it clear that sometimes what you're seeing is not aggression. I got an email and I answered it in Ask Me Anything not too long ago about a dog playing tug and growling when he's playing tug. And the trainer told these people that the dog is aggressive and the dog shouldn't be playing tug. Well, most dogs who play tug, whether that is a dog who's doing a sport or it's just a pet dog, will growl in aggression. Just like if you go to the gym, and I'm assuming this trainer who said this probably never went to a gym, and you see somebody lifting a heavy weight, they might grunt. So that is an expression of the dog's inner self. He's just grunting or growling because he's playing. Now, when we get into aggressive behaviors, truly aggressive behaviors, we have to look at two situations. One is this aggression something that was caused because of a behavior in the dog? Like, in other words, was it caused the dog was attacked as a young puppy? Was it caused the dog is acting reactively aggressive because of a situation the dog's been put in? Or is the dog just wired wrong? And those people say there are no bad dogs are telling you that they don't know dogs. There are bad dogs. There are dogs that are just born bad. There are people that are just born bad. Charles Manson, Adolf Hitler come to my mind, right? There are dogs that are just born bad. Dogs that just, they're just wired wrong, and either you see it early on, and in the older days when dogs were born bad like that, they just ended up in a bucket and were dead. Nowadays, people have this virtuous idea that any dog that's born should be saved, which I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, but I'm going to say I disagree. If I saw something really early on that was going to be problematic, I probably would humanely euthanize the dog. And I will extrapolate that further, that when a dog is dangerous and when a dog's behavior is not manageable, then I do advocate for that dog to be put down. In particular, and primarily, dogs that are aggressive to children. If a dog is aggressive to children and has caused damage to a child, I don't see any redemption for that dog because it's forever a danger. Even people say, well, I don't have any children. Well, you're going to go out in public and there's going to be a child. Dogs that are very reactive to people, very aggressive to people, sometimes can be managed, sometimes it can't. The problem is, in today's society, we live in a social media world. So whatever I say here today is going to be countered by 20 trainers who have zero experience and maybe 2 trainers who have a lot of experience. I can tell you that most of the trainers who are very, very good are people I know, and we tend to agree on things. So, the old saying that was going around that said the only thing 2 dog trainers can agree on is that the 3rd dog trainer is wrong, is very prevalent in today and even more prevalent, but it has no validation at all in and among very capable trainers. You've seen the people who have been on my podcast. I've had the very, very, very top trainers on my podcast. Frank Phillips, Peter Sherrick, Nino, Larry, Avi Cohen, Steve Stoops. I can go down the list. There's countless numbers. Watch my podcast. I can honestly say with every single one of those people, many of which I consider my very, very dearest friends, Oscar Mora, just popped in my head. These are people that I've never disagreed with on dog training. The only people I tend to disagree with on dog training are those yo-yos that are on social media posting and arguing more than they're actually doing dog training. So when I go to somebody's page and I see so much posting and going back and forth and commenting and arguing and never really showing dog training, then I know where they stand. I know their position. I know they are social media dog trainers. And there's this big stigma that goes around, and Larry and I talked about it when he was here last week. Just because I train dogs and I'm on social media doesn't put me in their league. And just because they're on social media doing their thing doesn't put them in my league. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but I'm better than most. I'm not saying they're really bad, but they don't measure up to the people that I've mentioned that have been on my podcast. So when you look at aggression, look at a person who has dealt with this behavior successfully. Get a referral, right? Get someone who understands the behavior, because it is a very problematic behavior. It's unpredictable. Recently, I've seen a slew of videos online of people, I'm not going to say one or more, handling dogs that have aggression issues, and I see these dogs in muzzles, and they're getting yanked around and flipped around and all this. Now, the problem with that is dogs are very smart. Dogs are what we call adaptable. They've adapted for 1,000+ years, and it makes them successful. So if I put a muzzle on a dog, the minute the dog figures out they can't get their way in a muzzle and figure what you're trying to do, they will acquiesce to that stress, to that pressure, right? They're not going to try to bite through a muzzle when they figure out they can't bite through a muzzle. Muzzles, although originally designed to prevent bites, have been most popularly and most successfully used in the protection sports or the military dog style, where a dog is taught to become more aggressive with a muzzle on. We teach this game, and the master of this obviously is going to be somebody like Steve Stoops, where the muzzle comes on, and there's twofold. One is they're teaching the dog to punch with the muzzle and become very dominant with that muzzle. And the second one is they're frustrating the dog with a muzzle so that when that muzzle comes off, that they can actually get a live bite on a person. Because a dog that most all protection dogs or military dogs are trained in the sports first, but to convert the dog, to flip the dog over from biting on a sleeve or a suit to actually biting flesh is is a complicated art, right? A dog that's trained to bite on a sleeve, if I throw the sleeve when they come up to me, more than likely they're going to go chase the sleeve and try to bite the sleeve. That conversion process is often done through muzzle work and through other work that people like Steve Stoops and great military dog trainers, Mike Reaver, police dog masters do. The idea of putting a dog in a muzzle and curing their dog aggression, or their aggression, is a fairy tale. Because once the dog figures out through this poor method of training that they can't get where they can get, then they will give in. But when the opportunity arises, and dogs are opportunists, first and foremost, dogs are opportunists. Whether you see a dog nuzzling you and then getting affection, or whether the dog is avoiding you and getting away with things, they're opportunists. We need to know that when we train them. Just like clever people are opportunists, dogs are opportunists. So in dealing with this aggression, and again, we must understand that the person we're going to work with who's going to handle this aggression, or if you're going to do it, it needs to be managed. We need to understand the triggers of it, what causes the aggression. We need to understand the situation, the places that causes it, and we need to understand the level of stress that the dog can handle before they break. So if a dog has, for example, I'll give you two examples. Jimmy, our black Labrador, has an incredibly high threshold. Nothing stresses Jimmy out. Jimmy is a bulletproof dog. He's the world's kindest, nicest, most loving, sincere, sweet dog. He doesn't have a trigger. Like, he's had dogs lunge at him and bark at him and everything, and Jimmy just kind of walks by because he's the ultimate Zen master. Now, take a dog like Maya. Maya was a little bit higher strung, thinner nerves than Jimmy, and had some reactivity issues when I first got her. I worked through it, but I understand it's a managed issue. She will be fine with the dog around her. She's not going to do anything. But if a dog comes unglued or shows her any kind of pressure, she will respond. And do I have a problem with that? No. I don't have a problem with any dog responding to another dog's pressure. I have a huge problem with a dog initiating pressure. And then on the third line, you'll have a dog that's just that is super thin nerved, has a zero threshold, and can't handle anything. They just see a dog and they're going off. And those are the dogs you see oftentimes on walks, on tight leashes, on prong collars on tight leashes. And those dogs are just waiting to go off. And furthermore, I'm going to extrapolate out on that. A lot of those dogs, if you let them go, and I've done this in the shelter several times, you'll see a dog that has this crazy reactive behavior. And I say, just drop the leash. And the dog will run up and do nothing. Because there you have the leash reactivity or barrier reactivity, which is going to be behind a fence, behind a gate, behind a wall, behind a door, behind a glass window, on a leash. It's this pressure that's making the dog act a certain way. When that pressure is removed, that's removed. That being said, aggression is a multifold behavior that needs to be addressed in a specific way. And the specificity is geared towards the behavior of the dog. There is not a one-shot solution. And I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing it a lot with people who are, handling aggressive dogs. And there are the two sides. As I said when I first started this conversation out, the first side is this treat and treat and treat, and I think it was called I forget what it was called, BAT or something like that, and where they would take the dog so far away from the stress and introduce the dog into the stress, a gradual, a foot at a time, or a yard at a time, or a meter at a time, whatever it was. And at the end of 30 days, they'd have the dog within 15 feet of the stress. Well, I'm going to get the dog within 15 feet of the stress the first day without doing any flooding. And again, flooding is a behavioral term that comes from human psychology, and it oftentimes works great, right? When unknowing trainers see a trainer who's skilled with things, and they say, well, that person is flooding that dog, it's a horrible thing. It's not necessarily a horrible thing. It can be a horrible thing, but just like an e-collar can be a horrible thing, or it can be a great thing, or a leash can be a horrible thing, or it can be a great thing, or a hand can be a horrible thing or a great thing. Just remember that. Every single thing that exists, a hammer can be used to build a house or can be used to put a hole in the wall. A hand can be used to pet a dog's head. It can be used to smash a dog's face. It's how we use the tool. So when we look at the behavior of the dog, it's a multifold approach. Trainers need to get off of this one-sided approach that, okay, we're going to click and treat the dog and reward the dog and get them through this, and that's the only way it's going to work. Or we're going to pressure the dog and correct the dog through this. I've done every way of dealing with this. I used to only deal with aggressive dogs. It was my specialty. It was something that I got a lot of business on. I work with a lot of dogs. And it's kind of stressful. It's kind of like dealing with prisoners all the time. You're just always dealing with this negative energy. So I enjoyed, after a while, I started taking on other clients and taking on puppies and really nice shy dogs and all these things. And it made my life a lot easier because I didn't always have the stress of the aggression. But it's still something I'm called for very often by animal shelters, by other trainers, and by clients. So that is the overall shtick or spiel that I want to give you on dog aggression. And that aggression, I can do further talks when we're dealing with dog on dog aggression or dog on human aggression. And those are very, very different things. There'll be people say, oh, the dog he's really great with people. He just loves kids. He's great with everybody, but you can't get him around another dog. And when you have that, that's an important thing to consider, because those are the dogs that you always get the call for where people say, he'd be really great on a ranch somewhere, maybe out in Malibu or out on a farm somewhere. But those homes don't exist, right? We like to think there's a farm, in different places that just takes these horribly aggressive dogs and they run and frolic in the grass, but they don't, because they eventually attack livestock, they attack other people, they attack other dogs. There's always going to be a stressor that's going to give that dog that stress. And we have to be really conscious of that, and we have to be really conscientious of that, because we're putting other dogs and people at risk when we deal with dog aggression. Dog aggression, I'm going to end my monologue by saying what I just said before. Dog aggression cannot, and most of the time, true dog aggression is not cured or fixed. It's managed. And people who are really good at it, my friend Kyle Schwab, he's not very well known in competitive circles or anything like that, but I've seen Kyle do miracles with aggressive dogs, because he's able to take a aggressive dog and put it in a pack of 7 or 9 Neapolitan Mastiffs, where that dog, even an 80-pound shepherd would know that 120-pound or 150-pound Neo would kill it, is not going to act aggressive. And they start to learn through decompression and exposure that they can get along. But again, then it's managed. And if you put them one-on-one with a dog and a dog does try to go after them, they're still going to do it. So please, when you're watching social media, and I think that's all the rage nowadays, we're watching things on social media and we're getting these ideas and we're getting these concepts, and we really believe the hype. We believe people who have 1 million followers are better than the people who have 50,000. And I know there's plenty of dog trainers out there who have, social media presence, but it's not as popular as mine. It's not as popular as the other, the million or so subscriber dog trainers. And they're fantastic trainers. It doesn't mean that the dog trainer is not as good as a dog trainer who has, more following. Numbers in social media mean merely popularity. I see people popping up, they get some kind of a marketing team behind them, they're big, big, big dog trainers. And people who are actually just doing the hard work don't really increase their followers, because that's not their goal. It's also not my goal, really, to get 1 million followers by being a caricature of myself. It's just never going to happen. And I've had marketing people tell me what I could do, but I'm not going to do it. I like being real. I like giving you guys the information you need, and being, sometimes off topic, sometimes off color, sometimes politically incorrect. But from me, you'll always get the truth. And again, I'm going to give a little plug to the podcast I just did with Larry Crone. It's a great conversation, and there's one coming up. I'm going to put it up on my birthday, which is September 4th. Kyle Schwab interviewing me, and that topic of that is called "Who is Robert Cabral?" So if you ever want to know a little bit more about me, that's a great podcast to watch. He had some really great questions. He asked me if he could do it after we did our podcast together, and I was really thrilled to do it because Kyle's been a good friend of mine for many, many years and a valuable asset to the dog training community. So what I will do now, and thank you for all of you who are here. If you are here, by the way, be sure to subscribe to this channel and follow, hit the bell so that you'll be notified when I do these lives. Otherwise, it's just a crapshoot. YouTube will tell you or Facebook will tell you, or you have to look for one of my announcements. But if you're on Facebook, be sure to like the page, follow the page. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the little notification bell on YouTube. I will take questions, as I always do. I hope I can get to a lot of yours. There's a lot of questions. For those of you who don't know, I always like you guys to put a question mark first. But if you haven't, I'm going to scroll through and see what I can find. Hopefully, I can get something that will be very, very poignant to the topic. I'm going to try. I want to stay on the topic of dog aggression if I can, as much as possible, because I think that will make it most interesting. Another quick plug, by the way, if you have not joined up for my members section at robertcabral.com, please consider doing so. And a very important announcement that I want to make here, a very important announcement, I promised I would make it, is we have launched the Robert Cabral Dog Training Companion app, which means if you're a member of robertcabral.com, you can go to the App Store and download the Robert Cabral Dog Training app. Just search for it in there. It's a free app. Download it, and you can use your membership there. Now, if you're a member right now, and you download the app, please send an email to Alan. There's a little button in the app where you can do it. It'll show you so that we can activate your membership for free. So if you are a member of robertcabral.com and you download the app, you get free access to all the lessons on the app as well on your phone. It's only for the iPhone right now, only iOS. And you'll be able to access all that. Now, if you are not a member of robertcabral.com, you can still download the app for free at the App Store. And if you prefer, there's a free lessons in there. You can go through the free section. There's plenty you can do. You can also sign up via the app to the membership section. So no matter how you approach it, you can get to the member lessons, whether you are a member already. You can now access the entire library of 180, whatever it is, lessons on your phone, whether you sign up via the phone or not. It's completely accessible. So check out the App Store. Please leave it a good review. I'm trying to really build it up. And bear in mind, there's no big marketing team or IT team in here. It's me and Alan, and we're doing everything, and Brian, who shoots my videos. It's a very small team. So be patient with us as we try to make it better and better and better. Let me look through these questions here. There's a lot. I hope I can get to as many as I can. Let me just put on my glasses so I actually don't make too many mistakes reading them. And let's see what we got here. Let's see. Okay, so here, Denver. Aggression in dogs is usually a combination of nature and nurture. And it's not only a combination of those, but it can be individual. A dog can be naturally aggressive. A dog can be created to be aggressive. It's not always a combination, but the combination can often change the dynamic. So in other words, if you have a dog that is naturally aggressive, that's just born wacky, we can mask some of those things, especially if a dog is fearfully aggressive. So we can build the dog's confidence, but that behavior is still there. Okay. Oak Leaf says, XL bullies have killed a lot of humans, not to mention innocent pets. In UK recently, yet they're popular, certain owners worrying. Well, it's worrying because, there are aggressive dogs. There are aggressive pit bulls. The XL bullies, I don't know if there was some kind of talk where they were not aggressive, but they were just bred to be really big. The problem becomes when you start creating breeds and you start modifying breeds. Again, when breeds were originally formed, when the German Shepherd, the Malinois, the Rottweiler, the Doberman, and all these dogs were kind of cued together, were kind of made by mixing this dog with this dog. The founders, the mad scientists who did it, did have the wherewithal to cull the dogs that wouldn't work in the species, in the breed. Nowadays, it doesn't happen as much, right? Even like dogs for dog fighting, dog fighters will take a dog, well, the dog's not working in dog fighting, okay, put it in a shelter or just set it free or whatever. There was a documentary on YouTube that showed what a lot of the dog fighters do, and they electrocute the dogs and kill them when they're not working out in fights. Now, humanely, people say, oh, that's not fair. They should be given a home. But the problem is they're prone to that aggression. They're prone to that behavior. And there you have problems that can cause issues. I have a gentle 11 cup whippet, but fear the aggressor. So, I respect what you're saying here, Oakleaf, these dogs, that they're breeding these dogs stronger, bigger, more powerful, but with less consideration to the dog's actual behaviors. That's something Bart said in one of my podcasts. He said, in protection sports, they're breeding dogs to bite harder and bite and bite and bite, but they're not breeding dogs to out. So you need more and more pressure to get the out. What we really need in dog breeding is a balance in what we're looking for. So we want confidence and strength, but we also want sociability in the dogs. And I agree with you. I don't think they're breeding that into a lot of these dogs. It's a real problematic. And unless they fix that, then we have a big issue. Okay, Sanne, nice to see you from Denmark. Always nice to see people from other countries. Let's see. Thank you. You're quite welcome. I always like to see that. And Shabbat Shalom to you. Samuel, thank you. And if something that is fixed is probably not aggression. Well, you're right, because we don't fix aggression, right? And then it was the dog was just confused, or like I said, I've seen it many, many times where a dog on a leash is super aggressive, but I know he's reacting to the pressure of the leash and he's acting out. So a lot of those dogs, I will just drop the leash and I will show that the dog's not going to do anything. I've done that in shelters many, many, many times. So far, I've never been wrong. Portugal. Nice to see you from Portugal. Philippines. Nice to see all you guys. You guys tune in from all over the world, and I appreciate the fact that you take this information and spread it to your communities, to your dogs, to your friends, to other dog trainers very, very, very much. Yeah, and Joellen, am I brave? Yeah, I am. I don't really consider myself brave. I just consider myself a real man who speaks up for what he believes in. And I think that's something that's missing in society nowadays, is that if you believe in something, you speak your mind and you don't worry about the repercussions that come by, because that's really where society is taking a horrible downfall. Okay, CJ LaChapelle, this sounds like something. I believe pits and other dangerous dogs should be banned. So I don't disagree with you, but I'm going to say that when somebody says pits and other dangerous dogs, you're saying that all pit bulls are dangerous. Now, there are numerous dangerous pit bulls. There are numerous dangerous German Shepherds. There are numerous dangerous Rottweilers and Mastiffs and livestock guarding, livestock guarding dogs. If a dog is truly aggressive, yeah, it should be banned. It should, but you can't really ban things by a breed. I have saved thousands of pit bulls. I have seen many good pit bulls. Incidentally, if you haven't checked out my new series, my shelter dog, Robert Cabral Shelter Dog, the last 2 or 3 dogs have been pit bulls, because pit bulls are overabundantly common in shelters. There's a disproportionate number of pit bulls in shelters than any other breed. Guarantee it, without a doubt. Are they all bad? No. Are some bad? Yeah. Are pits more dangerous than other dogs? Possibly, but I think in the numbers we look at, like if I go to a shelter and I see 100 pit bulls and 10 German Shepherds, and then 10 of the pit bulls are dangerous and 3 of the Shepherds are dangerous, well, then disproportionately 30% of the Shepherds are dangerous and only 10% of the pit bulls are dangerous. It's not about the breed. And trust me, I'm the first one to say, when a pit bull kills a kid, it should be put down and it shouldn't be in the home. And there are signs, there are things, but people often don't know what to look to. People create this pit bull problem, and in many ways. 1, they don't see the signs. 2, they take a dog that's very strong and very powerful and then they baby it. And that's a problem. It's very problematic. Janet is a great example of somebody who is a very sweet and compassionate dog owner. She would be the dead wrong person for a pit bull or a Malinois or any dominant breed dog. But she knows that. She's smart enough and she gets Labradors or mini dachshunds or something like that. And she's fantastic with them. She raises them and they become amazing, amazing, amazing dogs through her training and her raising them. But you need to understand that. So when somebody says a pit bull should be banned, a pit bull, a particular one, possibly should be killed, should be removed from society. But to do the whole breed, we have to really consider, are we talking about Staffordshire Terriers, are we talking about Pit Bull Terriers, are we talking about boxer mixes, bully mixes and all that? I do have an issue with a lot of people breeding these dogs, backyard breeding these dogs, because there are so many of them in shelters. I think there needs to be a much, much, much harder spay-neuter law on those dogs. And again, when I say that, you heard me talking with Larry, how I'm against early spay-neuter. I think it's a big problem because spaying dogs or neutering dogs at 8 weeks causes multiple health and behavioral problems. But then we get into this issue where we can't really answer the question of, are we being responsible? Because so many stupid, irresponsible people end up getting these kind of dogs, rescue dogs or whatever, and then they leave them in their backyard and they're running free and then they're knocking up the neighbor's dog. We need to put responsibility and accountability onto people. So, it kind of goes into the same argument as people who are just getting pregnant and having too many kids. Topic I'm not going to get into. You will really piss off a lot of people on that one. But anyway, and by the way, thank you, Alonzo. Happy International Dog Day to everyone. I can't believe I'm 33 minutes into this podcast and I'm now mentioning it, but yeah, it's International Dog Day, a day to really celebrate our dogs and our love for dogs and our passion for dogs. And we as a society would not be where we are today if it were not for dogs and our love of dogs. So we owe dogs a big, big, big thanks. Okay, so what is this here? Euthanasia in that instance is sparing the dog several years of isolation. And I couldn't agree with you more on that. I have an issue with people locking dogs up. Big, big, big problem. I don't like, even with this whole no-kill movement, we end up locking dogs up. And, then I see something that says, this dog is saved after 500 days in a shelter. I mean, I celebrate that the dog finally got a home. But I do have an issue with a dog spending 500 days. And I'll tell you something, what's going on now, and something not very popular, and a lot of people aren't going to talk about it, is we have dogs that in these shelters live in tiny, tiny crates. In crates, not even in kennels. Because the animal rights whack jobs don't want dogs killed in shelters. So it doesn't matter if the dog is aggressive, the dog is sick, the dog is old, the dog deserves a home, which I agree with. But if that dog is going to live in misery in a kennel, in its own feces, in its own urine, because there's not enough time, resources, and by the way, I do not understand. I'm going to go really politically incorrect here. I do not understand how we have enough money for these crazy radical programs that we're putting forth in this country, and our animal control agencies are underfunded. And every shelter you go into, even a city like Los Angeles, which we have some of the most progressive shelters around, they're understaffed. I mean, you're talking about volunteers in there cleaning poop out of cages, and God bless those volunteers, and God bless those people who work in these shelters, because they're doing the hard work that they shouldn't have to do because society is dumping these dogs there. So like Larry was saying on the podcast, can I blame the shelters for killing these dogs? No, absolutely not. A shelter would never kill one dog if some moron, irresponsible fool didn't drop that dog off there. That's not going to happen. So let's see. Well, you're right. There is armchair quarterbacks, and that's the problem. Because everybody is out there saying, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," and I see, trainers going, "Oh, I go to shelters, I give free training to shelters." Well, don't give free training to shelters if you don't understand what's going on in shelters. I spent many, many years in shelters dealing with it, and I understand the problem multifold. I understand it from every aspect. I understand it from the employees aspect, the volunteers aspect, the rescuers aspect. I've worked all those angles. I've trained employees. I understand what's going on. Shelter employees are not equipped to train dogs. They're not equipped to do it because there's not enough time. Yeah, they'll hire a trainer, and oftentimes the trainers they hire they must be positive-only trainers. And those positive-only trainers are not equipped to deal with dogs in a shelter environment because there's a lot of stress. There's a limited amount of time, and their tool set is limited. A trainer who's a real trainer, I'm going to stop using the term balance trainer because it sounds retarded. I'm sorry, that's a word people don't like anymore. It sounds really stupid. Okay. But it's so stupid because you're either a dog trainer or you're not. You know, I'm a dog trainer. I'm not limited by anything. I'll use tools, I'll use food, I'll use corrections, I'll use praise. I use everything. That's what a dog trainer does. It's like, we don't say I'm a non-operating doctor, a non-surgical doctor. I'm a non-speeding driver. These limitations that we put on are crazy. They're completely whacked out. So, all right. Okay, I'm not going to answer your questions here. Okay, what drives me nuts is other master dog trainers that talk smack on the very trainers that you just mentioned, Robert. That is well, yeah, but that's what they're going to do, because here's what happens. The way you gain social media followers nowadays is you go after somebody else, right? You attack. I find the number one trainer and I attack them and slam and do this and that. And, you know, that being said, when I called out Zach George, it was not for popularity. It was because he was saying dangerous things and accusing balanced trainers of being cruel and sadistic. That's a big issue for me. You know, I'll call out anybody on that. I will fight for trainers. I will fight for people who are doing the hard work training and who aren't just skating by and not handling tough situations the way they should be handled. Scotland, nice to see you in here. Always nice. Well, yeah, you're right. But again, this is the issue, is that this banning thing is a real popular thing because what they're doing is they're saying, well, since it's a great example. It's like vegans. Vegans want everybody else to be vegans, right? Anytime somebody has an extremist view, a cult mentality, then they believe everybody should have that mentality. Like, I don't go around saying, God, everybody should be using e-collars and prong collars. I don't care what you use. I have no skin in the game. If you can train a dog with a treat and a clicker, I think it's fantastic, and I'm willing to watch you. I'm willing to give you that chance because maybe I'll learn something, you know? But if you're going to tell me I can't use a tool, and that will, by the way, that is, I'm going to just touch on it for 1 minute, no more than 1 minute. Limiting tools and saying we need to limit the use of e-collars and prong collars will eventually limit the use of all tools. For example, in Switzerland, you can't use a slip collar or a crate. And if you wanted to go that radical and down that rabbit hole, you're not going to be helping dogs. I guarantee you will not be helping dogs. So keep it free, keep it for everybody, and let people do what they will. And if you see abuse, call it out. Call it out. Okay, let's see here. Paul. I work dogs, so does the military and law enforcement officers. The dogs and I have heartbeats. Aggression is curable. Aggression is not curable. This is the problem that people have. It's like a mental, people who are mentally, you know, whatever it's called, mentally handicapped, I guess is the right word now. You don't cure mental handicap. You don't cure it. You treat it. It's so important that people understand this. If a law enforcement officer or a police department has a dog that's really aggressive, oftentimes that dog will be put down. There's been stories of this over the last year. I've seen it a couple of times. It's not curable. Please don't think it's curable, because it's not. That's the big issue that people have with aggression. And that's one thing you need to understand. Okay, I need to do one thing here. I need to reset my my screen. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this here. Okay, so give me just 1 second here, because right now my screen went dead, and that happens oftentimes when I'm using my iPad in front, and it kind of dies out on me. So sometimes it just does that hiccup. Aggression. True aggression, okay, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain to you here, is that true aggression doesn't just get solved. In other words, it's not just, you know, we wave a magic wand and our dogs go, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to do, right? It's not like solving a dog who's going around a jump. When a dog avoids a jump, we say, oh no, this is what we want. We block this, we do this, we abundantly reward them for what they're doing there, and it works. But when a dog is aggressive, it's generally instilled in their nature. And when it's that instilled in their nature, then the problem is, they can't unlearn that. They have to see things a certain way. Hang on a second here. We're almost back up with my with my iPad. Okay, and there we go. Okay. Oops. Okay, it's not working there either now. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the iPad for now. Sorry about that, but I need to. I'm going to just have to look left and right for my my cues here. Sorry about that. So let's see. All right, that's from Paul. And am I seeing things here? Hang on one second. Earth Eclipse says, sniper dog when tethered, sleeping, relaxing, jumps to worry. Okay, I don't know what that means. I'm going to skip over that one. And Beth, first time I've caught your live. So long. Great to see you. Well, great to see you too. Always great to see people on the lives. Always makes me happy to see that. Let's see. Let me cancel this here. Just bear with me for a second, and I will. I'll get everything working. I've been looking over here because this is where my computer is, and oftentimes that is where I need to kind of keep an eye because it shows me everything I need to see. All right. Okay, let's see. Nance says, move this up. You have often said that people with PTSD should not have an aggressive dog, but I notice having a more unpredictable dog helped me better manage my own behavior to better be there for them. Have you seen this in other owners you work with? I have not. I'll tell you my big problem with it is I think that when a dog has PTSD, or sorry, when a person has PTSD, and then they get a dog who's aggressive, it can exacerbate the PTSD. It can exacerbate the stress. Just like anxiety. Anxiety can often be triggered by more unpredictable things. And a dog who is aggressive is oftentimes unpredictable, and that is a big, big problem, and that we need to worry about, because if we don't, then we have a problem where we're not really getting to the root of the issue. And I think with service type dogs, we get into this conversation where people say, well, I love that dog, right? They have a pet that they want to convert to be a service dog. It's kind of like buying a car and converting it to be a race car. Right, so that means we need to start stripping things out. We need to make the car lighter. We need to make the car more aerodynamic. So when we have a pet dog, we need to strip out those behaviors that don't work and infuse the things we want to work. So I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying you need to be honest and understand that the problem might be multifold and you might not get to the solution. So I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, your shirt is rad. Is it available in the store now? Yes, you can get this shirt if you go to robertcabral.com/shop. There is my spring store that will have this shirt. It's very cool. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Okay. Okay, Earth Eclipse. And again, I apologize that I have to look this way because right now my screen here shows me what I'm seeing, but it doesn't. I can't see it on my monitor, and it looks like I'm stuck, but I'm not. I'm assuming that you guys can see me. Everything's moving. Everything is doing okay right now. Am I right? I'm literally like shooting in the dark right now. Like I hope everything's working because on my screen everything is pretty frozen. Hang on. Let's see what we got here. Alrighty. That's the question here. Okay, that one I think I addressed. Oh my God, man smacks dog with spoon. Let's ban spoon. No doubt anyone is spending hundreds on real training collars to abuse dog. Well, here's the thing. You're absolutely correct. People do abuse animals in multiple ways. But the e-collar is the poster child for dog abuse. Although I've said this countless times, go down to your local animal control agency or go to your hang on a second. Alan's texting me. I'm wondering if the screen is frozen to us. Okay, that's Not good. Let me see if I can fix that. Let me see if I can, maybe I have to jump out and jump back in. I don't know. Can I do that? I'll tell you what, since the screen is frozen and it's not interesting, I'm going to try to relaunch this and see. Hang on. No, it's totally frozen. I think it really has something to do with this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out and jump back in. I'm going to finish this.